Awesome.
Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Oh, this. Hello.
We can hear you, sister.
Can you hear
Hi,
me?
we can hear you. Yes, please.
All right. Good evening, everyone. You are all welcome to this presentation tonight on family life. I am Reverend Sister Dr. Rosina Njoko. I belong to the Religious Institute of the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, Mother of Christ. I'm a medical practitioner, a senior registrar in the Department of Family Medicine, OLA Catholic Hospital, Oluyoro Ibadan. I will present my topic with the following outline. We are all born into a family, each and every one of us. So no one actually dictates the type of family he or she will come from. Under normal circumstances, nobody chooses his or her family. And we live in family and we will eventually die in the family. So the family determines a lot of things about us, how we see the world, our belief systems, our expectations in life, who we are, even how we seek help when we have medical issues. Once upon a time, the word family was actually meant for people who are related by blood, by marriage or adoption. But today, you can agree with me that the definition of family has embraced many close relationships that form the foundations of our life. You know, there are changing social circumstances that have actually resulted in broader definition of family, which may include maybe those that are close to us in knowledge, in affection, in care, regardless of the fact whether we share the same DNA with them or not. Now, a family is a group of individuals who are related biologically, legally, or by choice, and from whom one reasonably expects a measure of support in terms of food, clothing, shelter, or emotional nurturing, and who share a past, present, and future. So it might be necessary to explain there's a difference between a household and a family. So when we talk about household, we simply mean a group of people living under the same roof and eating from one pot. For instance, a group of students living together in a boarding school, eating from the same pot, that's a household. Or a group of people camping together in a place, eating from the same pot, that's a household too. So family dynamics. Of course, we cannot talk about family without talking about family dynamics. And dynamics simply means, you know, the way family members interact with one another. The forces at work within a family that produce, you know, particular behaviors among the family members. Now, each family actually has a unique set of dynamics which will impact on their development, on their ideas, and generally on the way, you know, they behave, the members of the family behave. Our family dynamics actually dictates how we see ourselves later in life. It influences our relationship and how we interact with the world. In fact, an individual cannot be understood in isolation. It must be in the context of his or her family. For instance, to understand a young man in distress, you know, his behavior would be viewed through the lens of his family behavior, you know, rather than looking at the young man in isolation. Now, there are three constructs that are essential in understanding of family dynamics, and they are family structure, family boundaries, and family subsystems. In family structure, we are simply referring to the framework of the family and the set of rules, you know, overt or covert, idiosyncratic or universal, that guides the family way of interacting. Now, when we talk about overt rules, they are simply rules that are openly communicated and highly visible to the family members. For instance, in the family, there might be a rule like maybe to the children, if you are feeling asleep, go and lie on the bed. Don't climb on the furniture, sit on the couch, you know, that kind of thing. So any rule that is, you know, openly communicated and everybody is aware, that is overt rule. But for covert rules, these are rules that are not spoken about in the family, those rules that are not openly discussed. People are aware, but they're not openly discussed. For instance, there are some, families, there are some feelings that is not being openly talked about in the family. So sometimes some of these rules are positive and they're also healthy. At other times, they may also be toxic. Now we talk about family boundaries as a construct of family dynamics. In family boundaries, we actually meant, right to say no, the right to be yourself, the right to express, your emotion and different opinions within the family. These boundaries, they manifest in how proximity and hierarchy are managed in the family. In some enmeshed families, boundaries are not clear. There is no autonomy, because in family, despite the fact that a unifying identity of the family, each individual should also have his or her own identity. So, but in a meshed family, there is no autonomy, there is no healthy boundaries for the individual to be his or herself. And in such families, boundaries are somehow they are diffused, they are intrusively intertwined. So while in some disengaged families, there's a lot of emotional distance, there is lack of support for the individual. And it's important to note that, in these disengaged families, those emotional distance, they don't just happen overnight. They can start with maybe silent grudges, harsh words, ill feelings, and gradually it will now metamorphose to, excessive emotional distance. Then family subsystem. So when we talk about family subsystem, we are simply referring to, the alliances that are being developed within the family, which we are all aware. In family, we have mother-son relationship, father-daughter relationship. Some of these relationships can impact positively or negatively on the family. For instance, in a family, the father may form alliance with his daughter. You always pamper the daughter, making excuses for her. He may be blaming the mother for not understanding her. There's a way these alliances can be practiced, and then it will really be, make a positive impact in the family. But there's a way it will be expressed. It can also, cause a lot of harm in the family too. So we talk about the family. These are how what the factors that could influence. I think the caption I can't see it, but I don't know whether you have seen it. But what is there is the factors that influence the family dynamics. We have our extended family systems that could maybe influence. In fact, there are a lot of factors that could influence the family dynamics. For instance, a family with a chronically sick or disabled child, you can imagine the family struggling to carry on with this child, carry on with, take care of the sick child in the family. Even events within the family, such as an affair. For instance, a man may have, an extramarital affair with another woman outside, and maybe family members will come to know about it. And you can imagine how that can affect the interaction in the family. Even family violence, abuse, alcohol. There are so many things we cannot really mention all of them. Then it's important to also talk about family developmental model. Now, there are a lot of family developmental models, but the one I want to talk about is using Duval's family developmental model. This one has about 8 stages. Now, when we talk about family developmental model, we are simply, for this family cycle. So which one of it is this Duval's family developmental model? We are simply talking about the different stages the family go through, starting from maybe the beginning family down to the aged family. So each of these stage in the family life has its own characteristics. It has its own challenges. It has its own tasks, which is expected from the family at each very stage. For instance, in the beginning family, it's actually the couple that just got married. There is no child yet. So this couple, they establish their concern more will be to establish a mutually satisfying relationship. They want to grow in the intimacy between two of them. They establishing harmonious relationship with their in-laws and their new friends. They start planning their family, adjusting to pregnancy because the woman must have been pregnant by then, planning for parenthood. These are basically the task that is being seen at the beginning family. Then the early childbearing family, the child is between 0 to 30 months. So a child has arrived in the family. Now you see the family trying to adjust to critical needs and demands of this child. There may be some health challenges like maybe acute illness of the child, care of the child with a bad defect if the child happens to have a problem, malnutrition, and you still see the family, the couple struggling also with their work. Now, family with preschoolers, these are there must be at least two, the children must have been two, like then 3 to 5 years. And you see the family struggling. Parents may experience increased child rearing responsibilities. There may be need for more living space in the house. You see parents, struggling for personal time to maintain intimacy. Then family with school children, you see the parents, the couple.
I guess she has network issues.
Hello,
Yeah,
can you hear me? I'm back
you're,
now.
you're
Yes, we
welcome.
can hear you now.
All right, so I
Yes,
was
we can
talking
hear
about
you.
family with school children, the
You can put on
parents
your
adjusting to
slides.
community activities involving the child. They will
Sister,
encourage their children
sister,
to,
sister,
work hard, achieve an educational achievement. You see them struggling, balancing time. Can you still hear me? I hope I'm still with you.
share your slides,
Hello?
please. Your slides.
Okay. Can you see my slide?
Also.
Okay, I think this is where. So I will go to family with teenagers. As we all know, this is a very critical stage because the teenagers, they are not adults, full adults, they are not babies anymore. So there are a lot of challenges, at this stage in the family. You see the family, there's a gradual emancipation, as this child develops increasing independence and autonomy. So family with teenagers, kind of balancing freedom for growth with, meeting family responsibilities. Parents should maintain a kind of open communication with teenagers because at this stage, you still see parents treating them like babies, but they don't know that they have a lot to contribute in the family. At this stage, you can have problems like maybe drug abuse, fatal road traffic accident, because, teenagers, they're always on the move, alcohol, depression, and so on. These are the challenges at this stage. Then the launching center family, this begins when the first child leaves the home, and it lasts until the last child has also left. Now, what are the challenges? The parents must, prepare their children to live independently, and the couple also should accept the departure of their children from home. After the children must have left, you see the parents must somehow reorganize to reestablish the family unit. We have the middle-aged family. Here begins after the children, all of them have left home. And this may be a period of, rebuilding the marriage, maintaining satisfying relationship. Middle-aged parents have more time and freedom to cultivate their social and leisure interests. You see them start planning for their retirement. At this stage, one of the major challenges is maintaining physical and emotional, health among the couple. So we now have the aged family. So aged family actually begins with retirement of one or both spouses, and it will continue until death of both marital partners. You see a couple adjusting to retirement, trying to find sufficient energy and motivation, to engage in activities that they love doing, in pleasurable activities. There's also a kind of financial constraint at this stage, or even health limitations, except maybe those who happen to have children who are taking good care of them. So these are actually the different stages in the family. We'll briefly talk about parenting styles too. The parenting styles, these are just different strategies, parents tend to utilize when raising their children. Now, in parenting styles, is actually categorized based on 2 dimensions, the demandingness and responsiveness. So when we talk about demandingness, what exactly do we mean? It simply means how parents control their child's behavior and demand maturity. It's actually the expectations parents have on their children, monitoring and how they monitor and supervise them. While responsiveness means how parents show warmth, how they show affection, caring, support to these children. So, so how parents are sensitive to their child's emotional need, that's a responsiveness. So we categorize parenting style based on these two categories. And we briefly talk about the 4 types of parenting styles,
Sister, 3
that is
minutes
being used
more.
by parents. So
3 minutes more. 3 minutes more.
The authoritarian, the authoritarian parents, these are, we will normally see them as disciplinarians. These are parents with high expectations, with low support. You see them, they want so much from their children, but they don't really give them that support to achieve those expectations. Decisions are not open to discussion. They are strict parents. They demand blind obedience from these children. And the parents, they view themselves as authority figures. They use 10 disciplines, harsh punishments in order to obtain a kind of a psychological control on their children. They allow one-way communication through strict rules. And they are not responsive. They are very unresponsive. They don't show warmth. They don't show, just want to manifest their power. And children in such families, you see them likely to be unhappy. They are very rebellious in behavior. They have social, poor social interaction. Then the indulgent parenting, or permissive parenting, these are parents that set very few parental rules and boundaries. I'm sure we have some of them, where these parents, their major problem, they have low demandingness and high responsiveness. They don't really demand and make much expectation from their children. You commonly see it in families where you have maybe only son or only child. Whatever he wants, you give, the parents will provide it just to make sure once the child cries, they give her whatever he wants, just to make sure that the child is okay. But you see these kind of children, they don't really have the emotional strength to survive in the society like that. You see them because they are overpampered, and one of their major characteristics is that they're usually very selfish.
Sister, you should round up, please.
Control. So you can imagine the problem that can emanate from. They have low demandingness and low responsiveness. So this parenting, they don't care about their duty, is just to bring out these children to the world and then let them survive on their own. So some of this is the worst type of parenting style. They all involve parents also may have some unresolved issues, which may like depression or emotional abuse when they were young. So they don't really care. They just leave these children. Then the best among them, I assume to be the best, the authoritative parenting style, which is seemed to be known as democratic parenting style. These ones, they have high demandingness and high responsiveness. And that's exactly the one that is, in fact, from decades of studies, parenting research has shown that it is the authoritative parenting that is consistently linked with the best outcomes in children. Parents use reason and discussion as first option for discipline. You see them, they set consistent and reasonable boundaries for adolescent behavior. They allow the adolescents to get involved in family decisions. And you see some of these children, they usually have high level of achievements in social and academic domain. So I don't know whether I still have time. I just want to briefly say one or two
Your
things.
time is
Here,
up.
I actually want to talk. All right. So, well, thank you. This is all I have here. And these are my references. They say my time is up. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for the attention. All right.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. We now invite Dr. Ginika Amefule to continue to give us her presentation. Dr. Ginika, the stage is yours.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I am Dr. Ginika Amefule. I'm a teacher and a fashion designer. I'm a home economist. I'm working in the University of Nigeria in Soka. I'll be talking about raising children in today's society, the Nigerian perspective. First of all, you have to look at the meaning of raising children. Raising children simply refers to taking care of children while they are growing up or bringing up children. Of course, when children are given birth to, they cannot do anything on their own. There are certain things that they need to learn. So it is that guiding them is what we call raising children. And you should have it in mind that children are like climbing stones, that is young stones. If they are not properly guided, they might take the wrong path. Our text for this is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in a way he should go, that when he is old, he will not depart from it. I want to also look at raising the ramifications. This raising children across various ramifications, where we talk about feeding the child, providing shelter for the child, education for the child, healthcare for the child, discipline, behavior formation. All these things are part of raising children. Then one thing we should have in mind when we're talking about raising children is that raising children demands sacrifice. It demands sacrifice on the part of the parents or the guardian. We have to sacrifice our resources, which can be our time, our energy, or our money. Let me just give one quick instance where we need our energy. Assume you want to teach a child how to sweep the house. You have to be there to instruct the child. Look at the way to sweep the house. And you have to watch what the child is doing to know if the child is getting it or not. Then another second aspect. Another aspect I want us to look at in raising children is modeling. Modeling, we should have it in mind that children learn more of what they see than what you tell them. And this has implications for raising children. First implication is on the parents, so that we will not be doing something or listing rules that the children will be doing, and we are doing the opposite. So the children are watching us at every interval, at every point of our time, every point of our life, even the telephone conversation. Then the second implication is that we should mind the type of people that we allow the children to mingle with, because they are going to influence them. Now we look at classification of children. For the purpose of this conference, I try to classify children under 5 groups. We have the first one, the under 5, which are people between the ages of 0 to 5 years of age. These people, they cannot do anything on their own. They need nurture and care. We have the 2 age. The 2 age can do little things, and they are the formation stage. So they need us to attend to them and show them something. They need to learn so many things from the parents. Then we have the teenage or the adolescent stage, which is between the ages of, these 2 ages between the ages of 6 to 12. Why the teenagers between the ages of 13 to 18. The 13 to 19 is the teenage. They are the people that model more, because they look at what other people are doing outside. I'm not saying that other groups don't model, but these people, they look at what others are doing outside and they try to emulate it and bring it into the family. Then the last is the adults. The adults, in as much as they are up to 18, they are still our children. So we'll still look at what they are doing and correct them at every point that our attention is needed. And we won't say that because they are adults, we now model bad behavior before them. Then one thing we have to have in mind when we're talking about this kind of classification of children, we have children, so many people under our care. When we're talking about raising children, our mind usually goes to our own biological children. That is the people we have in mind. Those people under your care, like your house self, maybe your sister's children, your uncle's children, they're under your care. So you should try to classify them any way they belong to and give them the same treatment. And you should know that each of these groups have their unique characteristics, and the parents should pay attention to each of them. Then we look at types and ways of raising children. We have the traditional way, which is a very strict way of raising children. And we usually have the interference of the extended family, and we have the modern way, which is a more lenient way of raising children. And that is what we are in now. And in this type of raising children, the extended family are most times seen as living strangers. They are not even considered when taking decision about the child. Then aspects of raising children, we look at various aspects. I've talked about this before. We talk about the child care, the discipline, the moral values, the relationship, cultural orientation, religious orientation, family life. Of course, we need to teach children how to live in a family, how to relate with people, because if they don't relate very well with people, they will carry that same attitude outside the family, and that is the way they'll be behaving. Because if we get the family right, the society will also be good. Then we look at the peculiarities in raising children in Nigeria. We have the offshoot of career. That is what we are going to see when we are raising children in Nigeria. The things that we might see. We have offshoot of career. I can remember when I was growing up, at least my mom was a housewife. She used to stay with us. But now most families, we don't have such. We have hardship and poverty in Nigeria. We have underemployment. We have social media acceptance. And people tend to imitate the Western culture. All these things are peculiarities of what we have in Nigeria. Then we look at the career engine proper. The first one, we have the career-driven society. These has affected so much, especially in the time that the parents spend with the children. And it even affects the type of family, the quality of family meals we have. Even the family that are buoyant enough to provide the quality meal, the parents may not even be there to monitor if that adequate meal if they've been provided have been given to the children, because they base their judgment on what the caregivers have given them or what the teachers. They don't even have time to spend with the children. That is what the career has taken the family and so many other ways. Then we look at poverty and hardship. Every Nigerian family is affected by this. The recent removal of fuel subsidy and the recurring inflation we have in Nigeria has affected so many things in the family, including quality meal, shelter, education, and people try to engage in one or two or more work. People call it side attractions. And this has divided, or let me say, reduced the time that parents have spent with their children. And this, as in turn, affects the family. Next, we're going to look at corruption. Corruption in Nigeria is something that everybody is talking about. But for this conference, I won't even be talking about corruption in Nigeria. We have to bring corruption down to the family because we are talking about family. Because if we try to cause corruption in the family, it will help also in our society. I want to give us instances of corruption in the family, where you see a parent bringing their children to school. The children are late, and the parents will lie, miserably to the security man that they were sick. That is why they are late to school. It's corruption. And you might be doing it because you don't want your children to be punished. It's corruption. And even parents going to school, going against the school rules to register children for GC, because most secondary schools will tell you the student not to register for GC before registering for WAEC. You see parents sponsoring their children to register for WAEC, and some people even sponsor exam practice. It's corruption in the family. Then you see parents forging results for their children. It's corruption in the family. Even on the part of we are Catholics, when we want to receive Holy Communion, we are supposed to attend catechism. You see some families, some parents, they will meet because they have reverend fathers as their relations or their friends, or because they used to donate very well in the church. The reverend father will now overlook whether the child has attended catechism and they will receive Holy Communion. It's corruption in the family. And you see parents discussing maybe going to school to harass or beat parents. This has not been the case before. Maybe because the teacher flogged your child, you go to the school to harass the teacher. It's corruption in the family because all these things we are doing is affecting the mindset of the child. We have it in the children now that we have suffered. We don't want our children to suffer. But it's not even possible because no child will just grow up like that without suffering. So all these things are corruption in the family. I have a lot of them here. Even parents going through shortcuts and helping their children to go through shortcuts. There are corruption in the family. Again, the one that even happen commonly, maybe when we are driving to church or we are driving to school, you see other road users and they are passing. Maybe the way the person Honda sees or the way the person drove, you are causing the fellow road user and your children are there watching you. It's corruption in the family because you are not teaching them the right thing. Tomorrow, by the time they start driving, they will try to imitate that thing that you have been doing because they won't see it as anything bad. That is part of raising them. They just see that is the norm. That is the normal thing. Or even see some parents in the family, maybe during discussion time, They'll be talking about a particular family, talking about a particular person, talking about a particular teacher in a very negative way in front of their children. You're not giving them any, it's not a good training because they will see it as normal thing. If somebody offends you, the right thing is that you should address the person properly, not even discussing it generally or telling your child that this person is not doing well. You are the only person doing well. It's not good. Even parents having extramarital affairs in front of their children. Some of the children, maybe they know their father's girlfriend. It's corruption in the family. And it is on parents defending the crime of their children. It's corruption in the family. Then another one that happens most times, you see mothers instigating in their children to hate their father. Maybe that the man is useless, is not providing money. It's a serious corruption in the home. Because most times when you see those children, when they grow up, you notice that the children will like their mother. They will prefer their mother to their father, which is not good. And this started from the home. Because if you try to curb corruption in the home, it will affect so many things in our society. But when we maintain it like this in the home, children will grow up thinking it's the normal thing to do. Next thing, we're going to look at the peer influence. Peer influence is concerned with behaviors exhibited by adolescents, mostly because they want to feel accepted. The children, they are affected mostly by this. They look at what other children are doing and they felt they want to belong. Even when you buy clothes for them, this is the standard, this is the moral standard you have in your home. You buy a clothes for a child, the child will say, I don't like it. Because by the time he or she wears it, the classmates will not approve of it. Because of that reason, the child will not like the clothes. It's peer influence and it's affecting the family. Because most times, even if when you try to train your own children very well, they mix up with others in the society and it has affected your own family. Then we look at ICT and the social media, the way it is being accepted in Nigeria. People believe that social media is where you exhibit everything that happens in the family, which is not supposed to be. Anything that happens in the family, anything, even if it's graduation, birthday, you have a new baby, everything will display to the social media. It's affecting, and it even affects us more because all these divorce that we are having now, in future, assuming the child will grow up to be watching maybe a Facebook post of where the mother and the father was having issues, and even how the mother caught the father, or maybe the mother caught the father and impregnated another woman. It's on Facebook. It will affect the child's psychology in future. So we should not be bringing everything to the social media. It's not a very good way. We have instances of the social media. We have a very recent one that happened in many states. A boy was discussing with strangers because he has a mobile phone. And these people were telling him to come to Lagos, that they're going to help him to become rich. And he just went to school, dropped his bag, and entered Peace Park to Lagos to meet those people. What happened later? It is only God that knows what happened there. Then we'll have that one that happened some time ago where a girl went to visit a boyfriend and she was murdered by a Facebook friend. The influence we have on social media. Then we look at parental preference among their children. In as much as we are human beings, every human being, we are subjective in nature, but we should try to be objective. At least there are some children that you prefer over the other, because the reason might be that you call this one now and you answer you call this one and give you 1 or 10 of the but that doesn't show that as parents we should show those children that we prefer them to the other. It will affect their psychology. We have the story, everybody knows the story of Joseph in the Bible. That was what affected Joseph, and the siblings were not jealous of him, and we know how that story ended. Next, we have the single parenting. Single parenting is a reality we are gradually facing in Nigeria today. But the truth remains that a child brought up under the nurture of both parents can never be the same like a child raised by a single parent. Each gender has the way they contribute. I know when we are growing up, my father will tell you, don't do this. In fact, you will not even try to do that over your lifetime again. But when your mother will be saying, don't do this, you just overlook her. So each gender contributes strictly to this single parenting that we have now. those children that are bringing up in that way, it will still affect the raising of children. And again, those children that are growing up, can we say now, they're going to see marriage tomorrow? They might say that getting married now is not a good thing, or is not a good idea, that they want to.
Dr. Ginika, please round up. Your time is up.
Next, we have family conflicts. Families are bound to, conflicts are disagreements in the family, and family, they are bound to happen in homes. But the most important thing is how we handle the conflict that we have in the home. It matters a lot. Next, we have marriage separation and divorce. There has been increasing divorce in our society because of maybe change in role and so many other things. So all these have led to high rates of divorce, which eventually affects the way children are being raised. Lastly, is comparison. No family is the same, and no family, every family is unique, and every child is unique. So we should not try to compare maybe the way this family is behaving with the way another family is behaving, or even you compare the way this particular child is performing to the way another child is performing. We should not do that. The next slide we are going to look at is the impact on the society. These challenges have impacted the society so much. I just listed them. We may not have the time to look at all of them. We have greed, we have lack of respect, we have ill-mannered children, we have lack of moral values, then high rates of criminals, prostitution, among others. Then the last but not the least is the way forward. I left that slide open because every person participating in this conference is coming from a family. So I believe that will bring up ideas on how we are going to move forward. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. We now invite Dr. Maureen Ilo. Dr. Maureen Ilo, the stage is yours. 15 minutes, please. You can share your slide, please.
A second, Father. Well, all right. Good evening, viewers.
Good evening, Dr. Maureen.
I will be speaking about raising up children this evening from a diasporan perspective.
Your slide, please. Your slides, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
can
you see me? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Dr. Mrs. Maureen Ilo, I live in Rome, and I'll be speaking tonight about raising up children from the diasporan perspective. The speakers have already said everything, so I'll go straight to the impact of from the diasporan perspective. Raising children in diaspora is one of the most difficult challenges for all African parents in diaspora. This is because it is very difficult to raise up children in diaspora in a way that reflects our values and our cultural values and religious values, because the system in diaspora do not have the basic tool to teach the African culture. So the most difficult part of it is that children raised up in this particular society have what we call cultural conflict, because they grew up mixed up with several cultures that is different from their parents' culture. And this leads them to the dilemma of personality crisis, because we all know that the sense of whom we are is always very important for everyone. And when we are caught up with so many cultures, we end up feeling not belonging to anyone. This is the most challenges of raising up children abroad. We grew up as parents in our culture, and we know what our culture is all about. These children, some of them were born around here. They've never known their country. They do not know anything about it. Then the only thing they learn from their culture is what their parents teach them. They kind of understand more whatever culture, the host culture's perspective. So when you ask them exactly whom they are, the answer is always like feeling different. You feel different in the culture in where you are born because you do not know anybody there. And then you feel different in a host country. Just let's say it's like this. The children born in the Western world, there are two Western for the children, their peers raised up in their own country. And there are two African for the children being raised abroad. So the feeling always remains, I am different. One of the reasons why this is so most of the time is moral decadence. Moral decadence in the way that in the African perspective, in the Nigerian perspective, morality is so important to us. While in the Western culture, their morality is subjective. It's subjective in the fact that each family, their laws are different from our own. What they see as good may not fit into our own value because they live a kind of subjective life. We are more of community oriented. So when a child sees an adult in the Western world, for example, you enter into what is called a tube, and an adult is sitting down, and a child is sitting down, an adult is standing up. In their culture, the adult will get up for a child to sit down. While in our culture, it is expected that a child gets up for an adult to sit down. So when the children goes out in the society to see what is happening in the society and comes back at home and you give them a different value, their orientation and their understanding becomes a little blurred. And their questions are always, why are we always different? Financial constraint is another important, because we all live our different homes in search of greener pastures. So when we come here in the Western world, we find ourselves doing multiple jobs to meet up with the standard of living. This gives us little or no time for parental care. Because of this multiple job, we have to fit in with the house rent, we have to fit in with the children, and we have to fit in for the children to measure up with the standard of their peers at school. So most of the time, it leads to truancy. The children whom you think are at school are not at school. They are outside playing with their peers because the parents do not. And when this goes bad, if it continues all along, it becomes a decadence in their academic perspective. When they are no longer able to meet up, it leads to withdrawal symptoms, or sometimes they become aggressive when they cannot do their homeworks the way it is supposed to be done. Parental discipline from the Western perspective is totally another one. Children born abroad are giving out laws of the do's and don'ts of their parents. So if you want to treat your child the way you are being treated, if it is reported, you are in a very big problem. And sometimes it leads to, if they report you, sometimes it leads to a support service taking the children away from you. And sometimes once they start school or do, the first thing they do in the Western culture is to give them their rights, the do's and don'ts of your parents. However, it does not mean that it is bad, because sometimes in the Western world, some of them, especially the young ones, do not even care about the children's life. Because for the father, there are a lot of single mothers, juvenile truancy, people get pregnant, the values of familyhood is no longer there. Children get pregnant, so they are early ages and then give birth. In Nigeria, they call them baby mamas, but here they call them single parents. And when a single parent gives birth to 1, 2, 3 different men, which is not frowned at in the Western society, instead they give you social care. They do not know the value of these children. And when others get new husbands who might not be able to support some other person's child, they try to harm the child. So what I'm saying is that sometimes it's not totally wrong what they do, but on the other hand, this is because there is no discipline. Discipline in the Western world is subjective. Discipline is whatever the child wants. They look after the child more than what is good for the child. Their social welfare takes care of the child, and even you may not be able to speak up for your child or give them the right discipline that you might want to give them. Peer pressure is another. Bullying, trying to fit in the society where they are. They are not like us. Most of the things they need here are being provided for them. So when all those things are provided for them, they have nothing to worry about. You see children, all they want to think about is going to discos, going to cinemas, going to clubs. So when your teenage child, as a Nigerian parent, is not allowed to do the same, it brings about a parent-children conflict. And when this gets out of hand, the social support service steps in. Another one is the negative impact of media. Raising up children here, where whenever you open the media, everything they teach you about is contrary to our value. Same-sex marriage. A child comes to school and he has 2 fathers. He has a mother and a father, all men. They teach you that whatever, you should not let anybody subdue you. You should not do this and all of that. You should do whatever you want to do. Child protection comes to an extreme, and most of the time, the parents' hands are tied. Facebook, Twitter, everything. If you look at the trends that is going on now, fake news is everywhere. There is where I could see that Pope authorized same-sex marriage, which is not true. So these are what our children face, and for them, it is normal. Do what you like, it is your life. If it is your life, nobody should tell you what to do. That is the Western belief. So when this is mixed up with our children that are being raised up here, where you are trying to teach the value of life, the value of good manners, it becomes a little bit difficult. Another one is the insufficient exposure. Insufficient exposure in the sense that in our hometown, it takes a village to raise a child. Here, you are raising your child all by yourself. Nuclear family is the basic. Every other person is by choice. You can accept your mother-in-law if you want to. If you don't want to, point the dot for her together. Father, mother, that is the family here. While back home, your father, your mother, your grandmother, in fact, people learn how to take care of children even without giving birth. Children that I have raised up, my sister's children while I was growing up. Here, the difference is the case. I have a 14-year-old child that I asked, please, can you go to the school and get your brother for me? And when he came to the school today and went the next day, the school authorities called me to tell me that this child is not a caregiver, that this is a child. So this task is not for him. He should not go and get. And at the same time, the children also says, Mom, why is it only us? You could see in a classroom of about 20 kids. And then, because the Western parents, they have all the amenities they have, we struggle to keep things balanced. So if I ask my child that is not more than 1 kilometer from where I live to go and get my child from the school, and the authority calls me to tell me that this child is not a caregiver, he's a child, he should be left to be a child. He should not have the burden of raising his brothers and sisters. And this is what these children understand. Why should it be me? Why am I always different? All the others are going to do this and doing that. Then sexual abuses. For the Western world, everything can happen. It is true that the laws sometimes defends children and tries to take care of children, but at the other time, that is when it is reported. Most of the time, crimes are not reported by families because of exposing the child, or because of protecting the child's future, or because of, so you find so many children being harassed by the family where they are born. So in conclusion, children born abroad face the dilemma of personality crisis. They have too many cultures that contradict each other, that sometimes they really, really ask, who am I? Because they do not know whom they are. They might not be in a position to understand their parents' culture, even if they have a deep understanding of the culture of the host country. It's not their country. Because, like I've said earlier, there are 2 African for the Western world, and there are 2 Western for the African child. The common feeling you hear from them is always being described as being different, and sometimes even isolated wherever they go, even in their parents' culture. So this leads to conflicting values. How we dare not allow their own culture to perish, but at the same time, they do not know enough to protect it. Whatever they learn is what they know and hear from their parents. We try our best to try to create a balance in raising up these children by taking up what we think is good from our society and creating a balance and taking what we think is good from the Western culture.
Your time is up.
So, recommendations. Teaching children the right moral values is fundamental. Parental control and discipline, no matter how much they think it's. Explaining to the children the risks and benefits of technology is very important. Limiting the use of smartphones and tablets for young children. Creating a family media contract that outlines rules around device usage. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you, Dr. Maureen Elo. You can now stop sharing your slides. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to speak on the same topic coming from pastoral dimension. The church teaches that parents have the obligation to give their children religious education. So we know that one of the purposes of marriage is giving what is called religious education. So when two people are joining the sacrament of matrimony, they do that for the purpose of establishing permanent partnership, for the purpose of procreation, for the purpose of the good of the spouses, and also giving children education. Now, when we talk about education, education is holistic. Some understand education only the aspect of sending your children to school. No. When the church talks about education in terms of marriage, in terms of family life, we put emphasis too on religious education. And how are parents to give this education to their children? First and foremost, we speak about what I may term, sending the children, giving the children the light of faith. Giving them the light of faith in this sense means that making them to know God. Many parents don't even teach their children catechism. The family is the domestic church, according to Pope St. John Paul II. So the family should be the first place that the children should know God. It is in the family that they should know how to do the sign of the cross. It is in the family that they should learn how to pray. So as parents, when you teach your children how to pray, you are giving them that religious education, that religious formation. Ensure that your children receive the sacraments. Ensure that they receive First Holy Communion. Ensure that they receive communion frequently at Mass, that they go to confession, that they receive the sacrament of confirmation. That's your duty. That's your religious duty as parents. So it is important we take note of that. Now, also, parents should be present to their children. The presence of parents is very important in giving this religious education, especially the mothers. Mothers should be present in the family. Nowadays, many parents work from morning till night. They don't have time for their children. The mothers no longer have time for their children. Let me give you an example why parents should be there for their children at home. This morning, I got a call from a friend in Athens. This friend is a single mother, Now, she has been looking for work, but all the work she has been receiving, they are not giving her, they will not give her time to take care of her children. She declined. Today, she was at home and asked her daughter of about 11 years to go and buy fish for her. In the Western world, you see people from different parts of the world. The Arabs are in charge of that shop where the little girl went to buy fish, and the Arabs started molesting this girl sexually, fondling her. The little girl came back and was crying and told the mother, "Mommy, there is something I want to tell you." She told the mother how she was, sexually harassed. And the mother was angry and called the police. The police came and took the guy to, where he belongs to. But if the mother had, even that the mother was not here, who would the child talk to? That's an example why parents should always be there for their children. Let the children see you. That the last point in this formation is that parents should allow their children to choose the state of life they want. That is their choice. That is their right. Don't force your children to become a priest. Say you must surely be a priest so that you want to answer mama, father, or papa, father. You must surely be a medical doctor. You must surely be this, but the child does not want that. Or you say that you must marry this particular woman, or you must marry this particular man. Allow the child to choose. As a mother or as a father, you are there to direct, to guide. So the church teaches that the child has the right to choose the state of life he or she wants. In fact, let me read from Guardian Express, paragraph 52. it says that no pressure, direct or indirect, should be put on the young to make them enter marriage or choose a specific partner. That's what the church teaches. You find that in the document called the Pastoral Constitution of the Church in the Modern World, Gaudium et Spes, paragraph 52, that parents should not put pressure on their children to marry a particular person, force them into marriage. I know someone who was forced into marriage by her mother, and now the marriage is into crisis. The case is on. We can go on and on and on. But I'm going to stop here. It's now time for question. The questions, I believe, have been sent in the chat. So I'm going to read the questions, then the speakers will now respond. We have 15 minutes to do this. Somebody is raising hands. The person raising hands, you have to wait for a minute. Let us read the questions first. Then we allow those to contribute to speak. Now, the first question I'm seeing here is from Mrs. Linda Osakwe. She asks, how can parents best monitor the behavior of their adult children who are in the tertiary institution? Many of them have been negatively influenced by bad friends, social media, peer pressure, etc. The question is directed to, who is the question directed to? I think this question should go to Dr. Ginika Amefule.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you, Father. Okay, thank you, Father. I will answer by saying in raising children, we start early. It's not when they're in the university, we start monitoring their life. We will start early. We teach them family life, and communication is very, very essential in the family. I didn't talk about this because the time was very short. We should try to communicate with our children and let the child see us as a go-to person, or even a friend, not even a parent. If we have all our children like that, whatever problem they have, they must refer it to us. They won't even take it to another person. So when the children are the parents' friends, they won't even have whatever interference they have at school, they will direct it to you. So the solution is start early. When we are training these children, we start from that time they are like a year old or 2 years. We start that training then, not when they are already in the university. We can't gain control. If you want to have control upon the children, we have to start it from when they are still very young. I think I've answered.
Thank you. The next question, is it advisable? Okay, please, I need additional clarification on how authoritative and democratic parenting relates. This should be to Sister Rosina. That's for Sister Rosina. Sister, are you there?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. All right, thank you so much for the question. Actually, I said earlier that these parenting styles are the strategies the parents use to utilize in raising their children. So in the authoritarian parenting style, these parents are also known as disciplinarians. You know, the focus of these parents is more of, you know, they have a very high expectations for their children, but they don't really give them enough support. And that is where responsiveness comes in, you know, for them to achieve those expectations. And such parents see themselves as authority figures, more or less, in the family. You know, you see them using very strict rules to control their children, you know, exercise the authority and then give stern disciplines and then punishments. So they're always like, they don't allow their children to express themselves. They only just give order and you know, command, and they take order from the parents. So most of these children are somehow feel suffocated, and because they're not allowed to express themselves. And you see, they turn out to be something, you know, something else. Some of them are very rebellious in behavior, and also they're unhappy because they are not given chance to blossom. But unlike in authoritative, where the parents, you know, they have high demandingness and high responsiveness. They have these expectations for their children. At the same time, They also give them support to achieve those expectations. They show them affection, they show them warmth. And just as I said, there are studies that have shown that this is the best so far, because these children come to be at the balance, and most of these children has high level of achievement, especially in academic and also in the social strata. So I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you. The answer
All right.
is straightforward. The next question is it advisable to encourage boarding school for a tender age children? This question should go to, that should be Dr. Ginika Mefule. The person didn't indicate, but it should be to Dr. Ginika. Dr. Ginika.
I already saying it because children need to spend time with their parents. If they should stay in boarding school, maybe from primary school, you won't even have your life in there, and you won't even participate in whatever they are doing. So for me personally, boarding school, even in secondary school, I don't even like it. I want my children to be very close to me. They go to school every day, they come back, and we relate with them. We ask them, what did you do? We find everything out from there. That's the relationship. And that communication is there. It affects the communication of data. If you listen to children that have such communication while they are growing up, even if they become adults and all of them are married, they still communicate very well. But if you see children that they were not even communicating when they were children, they usually not cry because as they get married, they are different homes. They don't even regard their parents or their siblings. So personally for me, we need to spend time with our children. Thank you for that.
Okay, that's from the personal dimension. You don't encourage boarding school for tender age children. For tender age children that are adults, that have grown up. Boarding school may not be bad too, but for tender age children, I share your view, they have to be with their parents at that age. The next question is this a question? This is not a question, okay. The virus of relativism has gone, that's not a question. This one contribute, okay. Often we advise not to be authoritarian type of parents so that we don't scare our children. Saying is the best type. How do parents go about it? Sister Rosina, that question is for you.
Hello. Okay, I didn't say the authoritarian. Probably he didn't get me clearly. We have authoritarian, we have authoritative. They are not the same. It's actually the authoritarian. These are the ones that use power and might to control their children. They don't give them breathing space. They don't allow them to express themselves. They don't show much emotions to them, as in warmth and affection. So it's not really encouraged. The one that I said is the best is the authoritative. That's the one that is more democratic. Those parents, they set reasonable boundaries, especially the adolescent children, that allow them to participate in family matters, So, and at the same time, they provide warmth for these children, support them emotionally. Unlike the authoritative, they're not the same. One is authoritative, the other one is authoritarian. The best so far is authoritative, and that's the one that is democratic, while authoritarian is the disciplinarian, so to say. So I think the person that asked the question is mixing it up.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you. The next question says, please, my question is for you, doctor. Three of them are doctors. So which of the doctors? What, in your opinion, is the percentage of successfully raising morally upright children in spite of the high moral decadence in diaspora? Okay. That's for Dr. Maureen. Dr. Maureen, did you get the question? Are you there, Dr. Maureen?
Yes, I'm here. Can you say that again, please?
Yes, it's on the chat too. You see it on the chat.
Okay.
It says that what, in your opinion, is the percentage of successfully raising morally upright children in spite of the high moral decadence in diaspora?
Actually, in terms of percentage, it cannot be quantified because raising children is not mathematics. However, if a child is well behaved in all perspective, I think it's the value which the children demonstrates gives it the percentage you will look out for. Like I will tell you that although I am from everywhere I go, student teachers, parents teachers association, student school authority association, the first thing I get is a signora, congratulazioni, i tuoi figli sono molto educati. That means, congratulations, madam, you have well-behaved children. This is to tell you that what half of the children in school are not well-behaved. So if the school authority everywhere, and not just only me, don't take it that I'm blowing my trumpet, even though I do not see what's wrong in blowing a golden trumpet, if there is, because among all the children here, the African children are the most well-behaved, because in terms of good manners, they have it. In terms of respect, they have it. In terms of, that is because we are able to strike a balance. And when it comes to discipline, we adopt sometimes the white, because communication is important. I think in psychology of education, there is where it is said, I think that is Skinner's something. He said, there is a point in a child's life where all he understands is punishment or gift, like do this and I will give you this, or you don't do this and you will be punished. That is just it. In certain times in a child life, they do things because their brain is not developed enough to understand I shouldn't do this because it has this consequence. So the only thing you say is either you appease a child or you. So when it comes to some discipline, you stand your feet, especially when you know that raising up this child, if he goes out there, he will find it difficult to live in the outside world. So
All
you
right.
stand. So thank you. The percentage may not actually matter, but what matters is what you make out of the child. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Making choice of job, work, marriage, etc. At what age I feel children need directions, no matter what area. Adult can see, that's not question, that's contribution. Thank you, Sister Dorothy. Please kindly share your slides, okay. What age or ages are terms tender age in the context of not being encouraged boarding schools? In fact, somebody used that term, tender age. So the question should even go to the person that asked that question. What age do you have in mind? The person that asked the question, tender age. But in my own view, I see that tender age as between, I will say 1 to 10, you know, but it depends on what the person has in mind, the person that used that term, tender age. But from my own perspective, I see that tender age between 1 to 10, or even 1 to 12, you know. The period a child should be in primary school, I don't support a child being in a boarding school. I don't think there's a boarding school for primary school pupils, you know. So that tender age, I see it within that period. But the person that asked the question, you can tell us what you mean by tender age. That's from my own perspective. Please, Madam Dr. Ilo, your tips on raising well-behaved children in. I didn't get this question. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have.
Did you say, what did you say, Father? Were you talking?
Don't worry, I didn't get that question. Somebody that mentioned your name. Please, Madam Dr. Ilo, your tips on raising well-behaved children in such a society. What? I didn't get that question, sorry.
Okay, I think
please
she may
rephrase
be
it.
talking about the recommendations.
Okay, your recommendations on raising well.
Yes.
If you got it, you can respond, yeah.
Okay, I think it's very simple. Putting your legs down on moral discipline, because I think that is the first. If you're able to imbibe moral discipline in your child, I think you've got it all. For me, that is number one, because when most of the child, when discipline is embedded inside them, especially moral one, they are able to behave where you see them or where you cannot see them. If a child knows that there is somebody above that will see me, whether I'm good or bad, even mom or dad is not here, it gives them the check and balance they need. So bringing them up, like Father said, number one, in the fear of God. I think that is the first thing. And with that fear of God in them, it checks them, it gives them the balance and the total out view of life, that let them know that you do not get anything by misbehaving. Instead, you will lose. That is one of the things. Let them know that whatever they are doing is for their own good, because most of the time the children think they are doing things for us at a certain age. I'm doing this for my mom. I'm doing this for my dad. Mom, I got a good result. I think you should be able to be the one who will say, oh, you are very good. Give the child a cuddle, give him a pet. And you will still be the one that say, you should stop it. It should not be done. Once you are consistent but like one speaker said before, children might be poor listeners, but they will never fail to imitate you. That's one thing I have learned in my course of raising children. You might teach and teach and teach, and they do not understand. But if you are consistent in your behavior, and we cannot be upright 100%, but at least be consistent in doing good. I think that is what they learn more than any other thing.
All right. Thank you. Tender age between 5 and 10. Okay. Thank you for that. Tender age between 5 and 10. So the speaker has told us that she does not encourage children being in boarding school at this age. Thank you. We now take contributions. We have exhausted all the questions we have in the chat box. We cannot take contributions. Dr. Achebe has been raising hand. Dr. Achebe, please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes to talk to us. Dr. Achebe.
Yes. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I want to thank all the speakers for all their points. Wonderful. Thank you very much for wonderful presentation. May God bless you all. What I want to just make my contribution is that all of us in this forum, talking about raising
Dr. Chibi, your network is poor. We can't hear you.
You are hearing me now? Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I say that I want to thank all the speakers for their presentations. They are all wonderful. There are so many things we can take home from their presentations. I just want to tell us that we ourselves, all of us in this forum, should remember.
Network is bad.
Yeah, we have lost his connection. Okay. We go to another contribution. If you have a contribution, we can take one contribution or two.
Is it better now?
Yeah, we can hear you,
it's
Dr.
better.
Chebe.
I said that all of us should remember that we are once children. So it is important to understand that the family is a school. There's this attitude that I want us to look at. When, like, we judge ourselves that we have succeeded in life, I used to hear some parents saying, I suffered and I don't want my children to suffer. I suffered. I don't want my children to suffer. Now, are these parents saying this thing? Are saying it from the background that they have arrived, they have succeeded, and they don't want their children to suffer. But what we should ask ourselves is, What made you to succeed? Was it not that your overcoming of those sufferings? Is it not your overcoming of those things you call suffering that made you to succeed? I will not talk theory, I will talk myself. I'm in a family of 9 children, 7 boys and 2 girls. I am the 8th child and the last boy in my family. I had my primary education, nursery school, when I was with my parents. But by the time I was to enter my primary 4, I ended up in the village with my paternal and maternal grandmother. All that he is going to spoil, he will spoil. But I thank God for my life. My maternal and paternal grandmothers are not professors.
Dr. Chibe, your network is poor.
They made sure that I received the sacraments. They made sure that I attend mass. They pray for me. They don't sit me down, start instructing or scolding. And what I'm trying to bring out is over-pampering of our children, over-protecting of our children will not allow the child to achieve the success we are looking for. If you attend a particular school and you become a lawyer, if your child wants to be a lawyer, allow the child to attend school too. If you keep the child at home, the child cannot be a lawyer. So all this talk, or sometimes that we hear parents say, I suffered so much to get to where I'm going. I will not allow my children to suffer. They will not get to where you get to because they have just charted a different path for them. So I also support that children that are very young, less than 10 years, or even less than 12 years, should not stay in boarding. But we know that some children, by virtue of their birth, don't even have their parents with them. They have to stay with uncles or aunties to be brought up. But if we can follow the teachings of the church, ensure that our children are grounded in the sacraments, they receive their baptism when they are supposed to receive, they receive their communion when they are supposed to get their confirmation, go to church and...
All right, Dr. Chibe, thank you for your contribution. Well appreciated. Now we take Dr. Chibe. Yeah, thank you so much. Well appreciated.
Thank you, all of thanks to all the speakers.
Well appreciated. Okay, we take only one more contribution, just one more. Somebody was raising hand before. I can't see the hand. Maybe she has changed her mind. Philomena, Dorothy Philomena, you raised your hand before. You are not raising hand again. Okay, one more contribution or question, if there is. We take that and we end the conference tonight. Okay, no more question, no more contribution. Thank you so much. Okay, we take Augustine. Augustine, unmute yourself and speak to us. That's the last person. Augustine,
Thank you
unmute yourself.
thank you so very much, Father. Thank you, presenters. Indeed, this night has been a very fruitful one for me. My take, my little contribution is regarding what we are facing today in our society. Sometimes you put in so much effort as a parent to ensure that you give your children the best in terms of moral and so on, just like they have said. But there is this very teething issue we have around us where society presents so many different conflicting issues around our children when they are out there. For instance, you move around. When we're growing up, you see the people trying to learn trades on the street, for instance. We do certain things to help ourselves because of the kind of communal life we live. But today, so many children don't want to learn trades. They don't want to go to school. And then when your children go out to mix up with these children, they begin to see life from another perspective, you know, feeling that hard work does not pay. You know, it's just how to just make it by all means. So I don't know actually how we'll face some of these things, because these your children whom you think you are breeding well at home will still go into this society. Get them into some schools, they try their best. Those who cheat are recognized more. You get them to the society. Those who play with money, play around, yet make money, they seem to be more recognized and appreciated in the society. So some of these conflicting issues seem to be a kind of a setback for some of these children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well appreciated. Thank you, Augustine. I, in a very special way, appreciate our dear speakers. I appreciate Reverend Sister Dr. Rosina Njoko. I appreciate Dr. Ginika Amefule. I appreciate Dr. Maureen Ilo. Thank you so much. You people have made tonight's conference awesome, very educative. Thank you. Yeah. I pray that God will continue to bless you, enrich your knowledge, bless your family, now and always. On behalf of Catholic Marriage Forum, I say thank you to you all. Now, the next conference shall be on the 27th of this month. This month, we shall come again for another conference. On the 27th of July, we shall be discussing how couples can maintain a balanced sexual life. Of course, we all know that sexuality has been a problem in married life. Many married people don't come in public and speak about it, and some say the church is not doing enough when it comes to sexuality in marriage. So we are going to have a conference that we speak more, that we dwell more on sexuality in marriage. We are going to have a speaker who will address or who will speak to us on that theme. Thank you, and I hope to see you all in this forum on the 27th of July. Many of you are in the WhatsApp group. If you are not in the WhatsApp group and you want to be added, kindly drop your number, your WhatsApp number. I will add you to that WhatsApp group. Having said that, I thank you all. I appreciate you for your presence. Well appreciated. Please join us to make Catholic Marriage Forum a forum through which many marriages, families shall encounter divine presence. Thank you, and God bless you. We now take the closing prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
God, our Father, I thank you in a very special way upon your children, the participants of this conference, as they have left everything to come to this conference to learn what will help them in their families, their married life, and how to raise their children. I ask you, dear Lord, to bless and keep them tonight and always. Bless their marriages, bless their families, bless their businesses, the work of their hands, and grant them the joy, the peace which they desire always. For this and many more we pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Brother.
All right, sister, please unmute yourselves. You are still muted. We can't hear you.
Can you see it?
Awesome, awesome.